Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. If you're starting a home improvement project, folks, this is the place to start. A.G. Hines Company, located right on Hines Street, appropriately enough. When you've been around since 1921, 1920, you're going to have a street named after you. That's the thing. A.G. Hines Company, they've been around forever. They've done a great job forever. Go buy the tools and building materials you need at the same place your great-great-grandpappy bought his. aghines.com to learn more. All right, let's welcome in the next final round of panelists for today. We have Bob Hodge right here, longtime sports writer.
Good morning.
We have Ryan Callahan from GoVols247.com, and we have Jimmy Himes from 99.1 The Sports Animal. Thanks to all of you for being here. Going to talk football in this segment. Got three quick questions for everybody here. The first one, a writer for The Athletic this week compared Tennessee football to a stock. And let's go ahead and read what he said. They were saying, buy this, sell this, and with Tennessee, he just wrote, good luck. Want a stock that is volatile as hell and has a ton of public interest? Do you like gambling with an equal chance of hitting it big and losing 30% in a day? Then Tennessee is GameStop. It's for you. There is nothing more volatile in the market right now, but there also aren't a lot of stocks that are this fun to track. Tennessee's an interesting situation right now as it leads the NIL charge. Will it work out? Your temperament as an investor will determine whether you think this is a good buy. Bob Hodge, you now work for Dow Jones, so I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
Would you buy Tennessee stock or sell Tennessee stock right now?
As somebody who sits at my computer and occasionally day trades stocks a little bit, I would buy them, but I would also buy them the way I buy stocks. Buy them and then check them every 30 seconds and see what it's doing. Because I agree, it is very volatile. You and I have talked about the importance of this recruiting class that they're putting together right now. And that makes you go, buy. But then you get back to what he said, that Tennessee's leading this NIL charge. How does all that shake out long term, not just for the next recruiting class? So I'm buying it, but I'm watching it.
All right, very good. Let's stick with The Athletic and another article this week. And what it said was, they're referencing another article. They said in a recent SI.com article about the debate in the SEC over whether to play 8 or 9 conference games, Ross Dellinger described an informal divide within the league between the 8 halves, which include Oklahoma and Texas, and the 8 have-nots. Tennessee, the 1998 national champion, proud owner of a 100,000-seat stadium and the fabled checkerboard end zones, purported rival of Alabama and Florida, is grouped in the have-nots with the likes of South Carolina, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. That means in the span of 15 years, the same website that went from grouping the program among the 13 kings of the entire sport to one of the bottom 8 in its own conference. Ouch. Hopefully Spire Sports can restore the Vols to glory. Jimmy Himes, do you agree that Tennessee is one of the bottom half of the league right now in football, that they are a have-not once you get Oklahoma and Texas into the league?
Yes, and I say that because I think it's a very close call. I can name 3 teams in what will soon be the defunct East Division that I would put ahead of Tennessee, and I got 3 teams in the West I'd put ahead of Tennessee, and then you got Oklahoma and Texas that I would put ahead of Tennessee at this point. There are different metrics. Do you want to look at the last 100 years, last 50 years, last 10 years, whatever you want to look at? I look at the more recent history, and I would put Tennessee probably 9th in the SEC.
They're probably in that same range with a Texas A&M and Auburn that you could kind of, in a given year, they're all going to be there in that 7, 8, 9 range.
Yeah, and I'd put A&M ahead of them because they buy all their players. So.
Right. Yeah. All right. I did a little more research this week. Mel Kiper put out his top 10 at each position for the 2023 draft, and I added all those players up to see how many were on each SEC team. Alabama, 14 players in those top 10 lists. Georgia, 10. Florida, 7. South Carolina, 4. LSU, 4. Auburn, 4. Arkansas, Missouri, and Texas A&M with 2. Tennessee, Kentucky, Ole Miss with 1. Mississippi State, Vandy with none. The schools in blue, including the top 5 on that list, they're all on Tennessee's 2022 schedule this year. Ryan, I'll start with you since you just arrived. Ryan, does Tennessee's list here, is Mel Kiper wrong, or are Tennessee fans thinking this schedule is a little easier than it actually might be?
I would lean a little more toward the latter. I do think Tennessee, that doesn't necessarily tell the entire story about Tennessee's schedule, but at the same time, you do have a lot of players on this team that are unproven. You've got Brew McCoy, guys like that. You've got Cedric Tillman and Hendon Hooker back, but a lot of players are going to have to step in and replace last year's draft picks. So I think this team losing all those guys in the draft, plus, the other teams are probably a little bit better on paper than you think, make the schedule maybe a little bit tougher than people are looking at and 8, 9 wins, no problem. I think that's a little bit glossing over the reality of the situation.
Josh, your take.
Yeah, I agree. Florida, more players there than I would have expected. So what if Florida gets quarterback figured out when the Gators come to Knoxville? We already know it's going to be a big game, tough game, but maybe tougher than you expect. And then South Carolina, that's one that I think is just dismissed as an easy win. It's late in the season, long way to go before you get to that game, but they did bring in some transfers who helped bump that number up. And if the team improves from where it was at the end of the season, definitely more than where it was when those two teams played in Knoxville last year, then that game could be tougher. So, yeah, still 8, 9 wins, very possible, but maybe more difficult than you want to think right now heading into the summer.
Yeah, and again, that's looking at draft prospects. So, you may out-talent people with younger players. So that factors into it. But in terms of pro prospects for 2023, I just thought it was interesting that South Carolina, Florida, LSU, who are a lot of people like, you can go to LSU and win. There's a lot of pro prospects there, according to Mel Kiper, more so than Tennessee has. The only guy that made the list was Hendon Hooker, one of the top 10 quarterbacks. I believe he was 10th. So you barely had one guy in there. All right, when we come back, that was good. We're right back on time. Good job. When we come back, the SEC meetings are over. What did they decide with the football schedules? Nothing. Where's Tennessee on that? We'll debate. Basketball schedule, they got a new one. What's it mean for Tennessee? Come on back on the Sports Source.